Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy, it's a pleasure. It's my honor to be greeting you all, bring this message of emancipation to you, pointing you to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. That's the reason why I want to speak to you concerning Abdullah and Neville Goddard legacy. But just before I go into the topic, I just want to remind you that I would have just uploaded my Abdullah and Neville Goddard merch, and the link is provided below for you to check it out and support this work. I have a lot of different things available, and you can check them out and choose what you would like to have in your home as a part of commemorating the legacy of Abdullah and Neville Goddard and showing respect to those who have left a footstep for us to follow, those who have cut out a path for us to follow. It gives me real joy and pleasure to look at every merchandise that I would have made available with the name written on it, Abdullah and Neville Goddard. So please, I'm encouraging you to support this work, because as you give, so shall it return unto you. So with that being said, my brother and my sisters, I want to say that it is with joy and pleasure that I speak about the legacy of Abdullah and Neville Goddard. And we must carry on the work of Abdullah and Neville Goddard in the way it was presented to humanity, whereby we was taught that the Bible is our spiritual autobiography that must be interpreted psychologically, and that the Bible addresses the human mind and must be interpreted psychologically. We must not be afraid to tell people that the Bible is not literal, neither is it secular history, and that it was written symbolically. Therefore, it have no reference to anyone who existed thousands of years ago or to any actual event that would have taken place on earth thousands of years ago. From the beginning to the ending of the Bible, it's all a great psychological drama, and it all have to do with the human psyche. Many would turn around and call you crazy, even your friends and your relatives, your nearer kins, even they would call you crazy, and they would say blasphemy. But as Abdullah stood and delivered such a message to humanity, so likewise Neville Goddard stood and delivered such a message to all of humanity, teaching them that what was delivered was not based on theory, that it was practical, and that you can put your imagination to work for you morning, noon, and night and reap the benefit of your belief system. Therefore, Neville and Abdullah legacy is teaching humanity that your belief system can add to you or it can take away from you. Now, each and every one of us in this world, we have abilities to do many things in this world. And we have a creative power. So you have creativity. And Neville said that Abdullah taught him through Christianity. So through Christianity will point you to discover your creativity, to discover that your real identity is your divinity also, to teach you how to discover your higher self, your true self. Through Christianity will teach you how to discover the kingdom. And Luke 17:21 tells you that the kingdom of God is within you. Now, secular Christianity is pointing you to look outwardly. Secular Christianity is having you to believe in a power or God or Savior outside of yourself. But Abdullah Neville Goddard taught us that true Christianity is pointing you to discover that the Creator is in you and that He is your imagination. For everything in this world, it was first imagined, it was first a thought, it was first an idea. And no one can argue with that. Everything in this world that a religious person who believes in secular Christianity count upon as a blessing in their life to prove that their prayers have been answered, all of these things, they came into this three-dimensional world because someone was willing to go into the fourth-dimensional world and believe in their higher self when they had a thought or an idea, and they used their imagination, they used visualization to manifest such a great work on the earth to benefit all of humanity. That's the reason why it doesn't need any argument for anyone to just look around and see all the great things that have been invented in this world to help humanity and to uplift humanity. They didn't come through secular Christianity or those that carry such belief. You check all of the great inventors, the great minds, the great thinkers, men who have made this world a place worthwhile living. They were men who believe in the power of the mind. They were men who believe in looking inwardly. They are men who were thinkers, as I would have said before. They were not religious men and women. As a matter of fact, I would have heard a motivational speaker said that when you Wright brothers, which is Orville and Wilbur Wright, when they had the idea to fly, as in building the aeroplane, that their father or someone close to them who was a minister of the so-called gospel, okay, because the gospel is supposed to be good spell, but they are bringing some negative spell, something destructive. I've never heard a Christian say that God will give them good news of how to come up with a cure for a certain disease that is plaguing humanity. But they always come with some destructive word that has been given to them. Okay, but the point I want to get to is that he says that this man preached and the Wright brothers and said that they were going to burn in hell for wanting to fly because they were trying to be God. But my brother and my sisters, we were taught by Abdullah and Neville Goddard that God in man is man's imagination. And common sense will teach you that. Because if you believe that there's one God and there's one creator, the only creative power there is the power of imagination. Therefore, all things exist in the human imagination because we are having a human experience. We are force of our spirit and we are having this experience. And in this experience, all our desires that we have, that we are benefiting from, they were once invisible. For when you have a thought, you cannot see it, you cannot taste it, you cannot touch it, you cannot smell it, you cannot contact it by the five senses. It's a vibrational frequency. And when you realize that a thought is a vibrational frequency, you realize also that your brain is a transmitter and a receiver of frequency. Therefore, everything you see, it came from spirit to matter, from thought to manifestation. So money is spiritual, wealth is spiritual, having many vehicles is spiritual, having an aeroplane is spiritual, having a private jet is spiritual. But we see preachers want to use all of these things to count their blessings. But we have to go to the origin of where all of these things come from and teach the Bible from that standpoint if we're going to be honest people in the world. And that is why secular Christianity is built on a lie. And Abdullah And Neville Goddard taught us that secular Christianity is built on a lie. And we see when the law of attraction and all of these things were taught to the world, and they didn't go in to the biblical side of it to make it balanced. Even the religious people who have such a mentality of lack and poverty, they jump on the law of attraction bandwagon because they're still vibrating in the getting instead of the knowing, still living in darkness, not knowing who they are. They're the same people who believe that you can sign a piece of paper and pay the government money to have sex without guilt and shame, and you are justified for not being in fornication and adultery because they misinterpret what the Bible means when it speaks about fornication and adultery. They look at it one way and forget that sex is sacred energy exchange, and everyone is using that sacred energy. And that is how you manifest things in the world. It's a spiritual sexual act. So because of the teachings of Abdullah And Neville Goddard, we can reiterate these things that make sense of the world that we are living in and make sense of everything, especially when you have the experience of the promise. So we know that they would jump on the bandwagon of law of attraction and try to speak about the mind, but they cannot speak of the promise, because whenever you discover the promise, you discover the Jesus and Mary story, that it is the greatest lie that has been ever taught to humanity. And the whole world in this time and season is running behind such a story. 25th of December, and we see the merchandise of the merchants, of this world has benefit largely on such ignorance. So remember, ignorance is big money. Remember that. Always remember, ignorance is big money. It takes ignorance to run a police force. It takes ignorance to run an army. It takes ignorance to have so many hospitals and pharmacies. It takes ignorance for the policemen to get paid. It takes ignorance for the lawyers and the judges. So my brothers and my sisters, do not make people live off of your ignorance. Use your wisdom to be of benefit to humanity, and let us all continue walking in the legacy of Abdullah and Neville Goddard. So my brothers and my sisters, as I come to a close, let me say this. Let it not be based around Neville Goddard only. Let it not be based around Abdullah only. That is why I took the opportunity to call my channel the Abdullah And Neville Goddard channel. Many people speak about Neville Goddard for many years and fail to mention more about Abdullah. Many say that much wasn't said about Abdullah, but I take what little what I've said and I get a whole bucket full and running over. I will continue to run over and run over. It's going around in a circle, because I found the truth. So my brother and my sister never said more than enough for me to understand the mind of Abdullah and to channel Abdullah and to bring the message of Abdullah even more simple to the rest of humanity. They rejoice of this work, and I can feel it. Even when I did the march, I felt so good. It didn't even take us long to do the design. It's so simple and it's so powerful. You look at it, you see the design, you see the single eye in the words of Abdullah And Neville Goddard. So my brothers and my sisters, remember to always see things through the single eye, which is the eye of God, which is the eye of imagination. Remember, if you organize your mind and you're in the right alignment with the laws that governs all of humanity, and the laws that governs the universe, anything that you imagine, you would manifest. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, I really want to thank you very much, and I want to encourage you to continue, do all that you can do to let us keep the legacy of Abdullah And Neville Goddard going on and on in every area of the world, to help to uplift humanity. Also, I will encourage those of you who've been benefiting from these videos to help me grow this channel by sharing this message even more. Let us get this channel up to 10,000 subscribers in a very short time. I believe it, and I want you to believe it with me also, before we can go to the another step of 100,000 subscribers. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, I want to thank you very much, and I continue to believe in all of you as you would believe in the words I bring to you and believe in the words of Abdullah And Neville Goddard. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, out.